Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Educare Call Snap channel. How you doing? So today, I just want to talk to you guys. I wanted to talk about the series drop situation, just generally my thoughts on it. Don't know if I'm gonna have lots of flying images, but we'll see. But recently, Jeff Hoogland, made a video explaining what progression looks like in the new economy. And pretty much the takeaway was like free to play players will get 8 out of 13 new cards every couple of weeks, every 13 weeks, while players about the season pass will get 11 out of 13. So that does seem pretty good, right? Case closed, the new system's better. Um, some people, are not too happy with the progression system, and one aspect of that definitely is the series drops. I did mention if they were likely not going to do a series drop this week, I would talk about it. We were told that there would be a 2-week announcements before any series drops before the patch, so that we'd have this kind of stretch of time where we knew, oh, these cards are not dropping down. But I'm pretty sure that the next patch is in less than 2 weeks. So we kind of have to assume that there's no series drops releasing this month as well. So that's going to be 2 months so far that we haven't had a series drop. And I'm really not sure that we'll ever go back to the series drops of the past where tons of powerful and high performing cards were being dropped regularly. I don't think we're likely to see that. Uh, I actually think that overall, Second Dinner may have thought that the old series drop system was too good for players in their eyes, essentially. And I mean that it kind of, there wasn't any meaningful incentives to spend on new cards with the old system. You were getting around 6k tokens a month to choose what Series 5 card you wanted, while you were guaranteeing that the older cards you were going to get through the series drop system. It was consistent, it was reasonable, and if you were spending casually, you could guarantee, okay, I can get these cards and these other cards I don't want, I'll just save my resources. And if you were a free to play player, you were getting 6k tokens as well, so you weren't really feeling too bad. Maybe the worst issue was like you weren't getting the new series pass cards, but you could still save up for them if you really felt they were important, and you could generally just do well playing in a slower time scale. So it made for a system where new cards weren't really causing players to spend money. We could definitely see that in the High Evolution release. People were very hyped about it, and it came out, pretty much everyone had it. And there wasn't like, oh, a huge uptick in spending. People just had resources to get the new card. And I'm pretty sure that made Second Dinner like, oh, we release a hype card, the revenue doesn't go up. Maybe we need to change the system in a meaningful way, right? Because you would want new cards to be a reasonable way to get revenue, right? But I bet it wasn't really looking that enticing, right? So the system probably was too good in their eyes and probably needed to change. That's something I'm guessing. Obviously, I don't have the data, but it would make sense to me. So because of that, we do have this new spotlight system, which is fine. And obviously, there's some breakdowns. It's not a bad system. There's just some issues, I guess, some weaknesses of the system. One thing is that they do need to build a bank of series cards that are deemed interesting to them. So because of that, we're not having series drops. Cards they need to have enough of like, these are interesting, these we can put in spotlights and flow through. You don't want to have the same cards in the spotlights every month because it would just not be enticing after a while, right? So they went the way of not having series drops for some time to get that number to a reasonable spot. And I'm assuming after they hit a good number, after they have a large enough pool, then series drops will begin again. However, it's very likely that they're only going to be dropping the least popular and the weaker new releases, right? So things like Snowguard, I'm fully expecting to be dropped. Maybe Stegron, a lot of the cards that people haven't really jumped for joy at or underplayed. I think those are cards that might be dropped. But the issue with that is older cards, cards that perform well, are very likely to be kept higher in the series. So we don't have the guarantee of, oh, every card is going to drop down at some point. I don't know if that is going to really be the case anymore. Now, in terms of the new system, even though there are some positives in terms of how much you are getting, there's definitely some issues, some negatives. Some of the some that I wanted to talk about. I'm not going to cover everything. What I did want to talk about is the fact that what you want is not guaranteed, and I mean that in not everyone is going to be saving up for caches every time. And I also think that's unreasonable to expect players to do that. Where, oh, you want something, you have to save up. And it's a stark contrast in when tokens were the primary way to acquire something. And that, okay, you got your 3,000 tokens, you're getting this card guaranteed. No question about that. Now it's like you've got your 3 caches. Yeah, there's a chance. There's a chance you're not getting what you want. Like, and I do think that kind of frustration, especially for 3, can feel really, really bad for players. And another issue is that it's not like you can save up. Like, there's a card you really want. Like, let's say you really want Thanos, and you only have 2 or 3 caches. It's not like you're not like, well, I only have 2 or 3. There's like 50% chance. I'll just wait until Thanos rolls through. You can't do that. You have to say, Thanos is a card I really want. I don't have anywhere near enough tokens. This is my best shot. I have to go for it. Like, that's the idea, right? And that's what Secondary should be promoting, right, with this system, right? You want enticing caches that people want to spend their resources on. So it doesn't make sense to be like, oh, you wanted Thanos and you only had 2. You should have held it. No, like they should be using their resources because that's the card they want, right? That's the idea of the system, to have something enticing that players will go for. So it just doesn't make sense to say, oh, if you don't have 4, you're dumb for using. Like, that's not true, right? Like, people want particular cards. People want, high evolutionary stuff like that. So they're going to spend even if they don't have exactly 4. So that, I do think, feels bad. I don't know if it's an issue, but it definitely feels bad. Like, that's where you're going to have a lot of complaints where people spend 2 or 3 spotlights trying to get the card they were looking for, the card they've been hoping for. They don't hit, and they just feel salty, right? Like, they don't have the card they were pushing for, and all they're left is, maybe a couple of tokens or some cards they don't want, or some spotlight variants that they weren't really looking for. So I do think that is a weird function of the system, in that you can spend resources, and not get the card you're looking for, right? Like, it's like that. And the other I guess thing I wanted to talk about as well was that now it's really hard to guess when you are going to get a specific card. So with the old system, with the series drop system, it was the case where, let's say, what's a card coming out? Stegron. I'm using Stegron for everything. Let's say you want Stegron, right? With the old system, you can guess how long it takes before, free to play players get it, season series pass players get it, and then whale spenders get it. You could always guess. Now with this case, if I was like, when are most players gonna get Stegron? You have no clue, right? You have no idea. And some people, right, can use the data mines, but even the data mines don't tell you everything, right? You're not gonna know exactly when a lot of the cards are coming out as well. So it's just weird that when players can get something is now locked behind the system that only second owner can get to decide, right? So, before, if you wanted Stegron, you can wait a month, you can wait a half a month, depending on if it's Series 4 or Series 5, and you can get that card guaranteed, right? Like, okay, a new card came out, I want it, month, I have it, right? Now, right, let's say you want Jean Grey now, or you want Living Tribunal now, right? When is Living Tribunal going to be available to you? Don't know. Right? And I just think that's super harsh in that you can't really tell. It would be difficult for them to have like, here's the likelihood of every card. Like, when is this card coming out? Next month, 2 months, 3 months. Like, that's maybe too much structure, and things will change, right? So it's just a difficult position where players are not going to know exactly when things are going to come out, right? And players are not going to know when they can get the cards they want, especially older cards. Newer cards are a little bit better because we have the tools for it, since we can look into the data mines, which they're not like super encouraging, to be fair, but we can do that. We can look into the data mines and say, oh, Alaroth is coming out in September sometime. Okay, I can save for that, right? And you can guarantee if that's the card you want. If it's more than a month away, okay, you can guarantee get that card. But when it comes to like older cards or cards that have already been in a Spotlight series and got changed afterwards, you really can't guess when that card is going to be re-released. And the token acquisition rate is too slow to really say that's a meaningful way of getting older cards or new cards or anything like that. So those two things, what you want isn't guaranteed, and the fact that you can't guess when anyone will get a particular card is just something I think needs to be talked about in particular. I was wondering if I should generally make a fancy video, but I wanted to try. I was just kind of stuck in how I wanted to talk about this. I didn't want to make a negative video, and a lot of times when you're writing down or making the PowerPoints, I just get the feeling like it feels negative. I didn't want to do that. I just want to talk about the drops because they haven't happened for 2 months, and I think that's notable, in that it was such an important way for players to feel progression, to get new cards, to know what's coming up. They would just look at the series drops and be like, okay, so this changes a lot. This changes the meta. This changes how I look at things. Now with this new system, no drops, it's just hard to have that same type of feeling. And you definitely want to keep people engaged, keep people enticed. The spotlights are cool, but you kind of have to go a long time without using them if you want to guarantee rewards, which has its own set of problems. But I did just want to talk about spotlights. I did just want to make a video about it. The things I want to take away was just like some of the changes, some of the issues. Even though there are positives, right? People are getting more cards. It's just up to second dinner. You lose your agency, but anyways, I don't know how this video is going to do. But let me know your thoughts. And make sure you do the survey, right? There's a survey on your mobile client. Make sure you do that. I think that's really important. Other than that, take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Educated calling snap. I don't know. Once you watch him, you won't go back. He'll teach you tomorrow, snap. Your skills will be